I was impressed with that move you pulled. Bang.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's me, it's G, it's DMC, the undefeated, undisputed YouTube champion. That's right, it's the Maverick, Mark Daniels. And I'm here with the Raw review for July 17th, 2017. There's a lot of sevens in that date. Look at this. And man, were we lucky to see such a great show. Anyways, actually overall I thought Raw was pretty good last night. I was recording this the day after. I was going to record it right after it was over, but man, I was just so tired. I was busy all weekend. I needed to get some sleep. But we started off with Ambrose coming out. He wanted to call out The Miz and the Miztourage. Instead, Seth freaking Rollins comes out. And he goes in there and he talks to Dean. And he says, I wasn't there to, fight your battles. I was there because Miz attacked me too. And I want to fight him as well. And I just want to know, are you going to be standing by my side? Or are you going to be standing as an enemy? And he called him brother. And Dean had a metal chair with him at the time, and he says, "I'm not your brother." First off, and they kind of go back and forth, and basically, Seth apologizes to him for everything that happened to him. He's like, "Look, I had to live with that guilt day after day after day. What do I got to do to make it better?" So he turns his back and he says, "Go ahead, Dean. Hit me in the back. Hit me in the back with that chair as many times as you want. Get it out of your system. If this is what it's going to take for you to forgive me, then go ahead and crack me in the back with that chair." And I thought this was great. This whole segment so far at this point was great. I really enjoyed it. The fact that they're really keeping the continuity between these two. They had a historic, rivalry, for almost a full year. It was always Seth versus Dean, and then Bray Wyatt would get involved. Seth Rollins won Money in the Bank, and Dean, he swore up and down that he was never going to let Seth cash it in. Whenever he would cash it in, Dean would try to intercept him. And they had all these matches, and I'm glad that they're really playing this into the storyline. It's actually, I don't want to say it's super compelling because it's not. It's just obvious and something that they should be doing with a lot of storylines, but they just kind of skip over them. But I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed this whole segment. Then The Miz came out, and as he's coming out, you can clearly see his night is day. There's a send nudes sign behind him, and there's a number on it. I really doubt it's the guy's real number. If it is, he's a brave man. After that, the Miztourage, they grab chairs and they go to beat down Seth and Dean. Miz hits a skull crusher finale onto the chair on Seth, and then they crack Dean Ambrose on the outside with some more chairs. So, very good stuff. It made the Miz and the Miztourage look strong, and it made Dean and Seth look like sympathetic baby faces, which is what they are. That's what they should be. And it's going to set up a match later on next week that Kurt Angle set up. A match between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose versus the Miztourage in a 3-on-2 handicap match. It was a match that they asked for later in the night. I think that's great. This whole segment was awesome. I give it a thumbs up. It was a great way to start off Raw. It played into a storyline with Seth and Dean. I could really see these two being a tag team. If they don't have anything else for these guys, and I don't know if they do, because right now there's a lot of people in a lot of different directions, and we'll get to that in a minute. Specifically Bray Wyatt. And again, we'll get to that in just a little bit. Obviously, Bray Wyatt looks like he's feuding with Finnegan. I don't know what's going on there. So Seth and Dean are feuding against The Miz and the Miztourage. And this could end a few different ways. These guys could end up a tag team. We need face tag teams big time. We've lost 4, if you count NXT tag teams so far this month. We've lost American Alpha, which is a recent one. The Golden Truth, which, it's the Golden Truth. We lost DIY. I always say DYI. I had to make sure I said it right. DIY, do it yourself. Obviously, Gargano and Ciampa, they're Ciampa. They're going to be having a feud once they're both healthy and 100% again. And then the other tag team was the Vaudevillains. I'm kidding, it wasn't them. What was the other tag team? They did so many breakups. And they're getting ready to break up the Eyebrows. It looks like they're teasing a breakup there too. It's crazy. Enzo and Cass. Enzo and Cass. I knew there was one more. They broke up so many tag teams in the last few months, it's unreal. Like, there's no tag teams left. And there's a total of, I believe, 4 babyface tag teams across both brands. You have, maybe even including NXT, because I don't even know if there's any babyface tag teams on NXT. I haven't really been following it as much as I want to. I'm going to start watching it weekly and start reviewing it again. But from what I understand, there is no freaking tag teams. There's the Artists of Destruction. What are they called? The Poetry Destroyers. The Authors of Pain. That's their name. Authors of Pain, then you have Sanity, and then that's it, right? Like, is TM61 back from injury? I don't know. I haven't been watching, but I'll have to kind of check it out and see what's going on. No, Heavy Machinery's the tag team they got down there. But as far as Raw and SmackDown, you have, of course, you have the New Day, which are the top tag team on SmackDown as far as faces go. Then you have Breezango, and I love Breezango. They're great. And they organically turned face, too, because they were heels. They were heels, and they organically turned them. And it's kind of overlooked and kind of underappreciated, but I kind of enjoyed that. You don't see that too often. Things seem too forced these days. And then on Raw, you have Heath Slater and Rhino, which, let's be honest, they're not really a real tag team. Former tag team champions, but they don't really wrestle that much at all. And Heath Slater's kind of been doing a singles thing right now anyways. And then the other tag team, of course, the Hardy Boys, which is the top tag team on Raw. Well, they're not champions, but they're the top babyface on Raw. But yeah, they need more tag teams, man. So Seth and Dean, if they got nothing else better for them, why not? Give them a run with the titles. I'm cool with that. I'd be down with that. Then we had, let's see, our first match of the night, which was Bayley versus Alexa Bliss. Actually, a pretty decent match. Surprisingly, I didn't really think that this match would be that good. It wasn't like a 5-star, match, but it was a good match for Raw, especially with it being the women. Before the match started, though, Bayley gave a shirt to a crying fan. I thought that was pretty cool. And then, of course, while Alexa's coming out, she was teasing him for crying, which I thought was pretty funny. Alexa's great. I love Alexa. During this match, Nia came out, and then Sasha came out, of course, to help out Bayley. Bayley won off the distraction yet again. Last week, she won with the roll-up, thanks to Sasha. And now this week, she won via Bayley to Bayley, thanks to the distraction by Sasha. So she beats the champion. So now Sasha and Bayley both want a shot at the championship, as they both should. So this can go a few different directions, too. Sasha lost by countouts at the last pay-per-view, Great Balls of Fire. And Bayley has pinned the champion twice in the tag team match, and now, again, last night on Raw. So they're going to have a match next week at Raw. They're both pretty excited about that, so that's cool. It could either go, Alexa could come out, or Nia could come out, or both of them could come out, make the match a disqualification, similar to what Strowman did on Raw last night. We'll talk about that, of course, which could lead into a triple threat, even a fatal four-way match for the title. I don't know if I like the idea because it's too similar to what's going on with Strowman, Joe, and Roman, but it's something they could do. Or maybe Sasha just simply wins and she gets a shot. Because I think Sasha has unfinished business. I mean, Bayley lost fair and square to Alexa. That kendo stick on a pole match, she won fair and square. Bayley couldn't use the stick. She couldn't win. She couldn't get the job done. Sasha lost via countout. Or she actually won via countout, actually. My bad. So it's very arguable that she should be champion as far as kayfabe goes. But I could see it being a triple threat or even a fatal four-way with Nia Jax. Swig of Pepsi real fast. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty decent match. Then we had Corey Graves and Kurt Angle in the back. Kurt Angle was having second thoughts about revealing what he revealed later in the night. Corey Graves assured him that it's going to be okay, and Kurt Angle's just very nervous about it. The page here. Then we had Titus Worldwide backstage. I actually really like Titus Worldwide. I'm convinced that they're no longer. I don't think Titus O'Neil is a heel. I think he's a babyface now. Like, it's almost certain to me that they've done again an organic babyface turn with Titus, and I'm really enjoying the Titus brand. I'm curious to see what they do with it because they teased a breakup between Tozawa and Titus already, and I don't like that. I kind of want to keep them together because honestly, Tozawa, a very talented wrestler, but I don't know if he has same thing that can be said with Apollo Crews. Without a mouthpiece or anything, I don't know if there's much to him. Enough for him to be spotlighted in the correct way. Like Neville doesn't need a manager. Guy's great. Guy can cut a good promo. Has a lot of fire. Just really good at what he does. Tozawa, really good wrestler, but he can't really cut a promo. So same with Apollo. So you need Titus for that. So I hope they don't break that up. But Daivari interrupted him. He wanted a rematch against Tozawa because I guess Tozawa beat Daivari last week. And I think it was something to do with like a low blow or something. I don't know. Something happened. I didn't watch 205 Live last week. I was going to, but I didn't, and I don't regret it. But kind of sad to say because I do like the Cruiserweights and I do like 205 Live. I just was busy and I didn't have a chance to watch it. And I wasn't really wanting to watch it, so I didn't go out of my way to watch it. So that's just the way it is. Then we had, speaking of Cruiserweights, we had an tag team match of Brian Kendrick and Drew Gulak. The no-fly plan was in effect here versus Mustafa Ali and Jack Gallagher. Mustafa Ali and Jack Gallagher won the match. It was an okay match, nothing special. Then we had, this was probably the part of the show I didn't like at all. It's really, to me, this was the worst part of the show. And some people would probably argue that Kurt Angle's reveal of Jason Jordan being his son was, and we'll talk about that. But to me, this was. And it's not the guy's fault. It's 100% writer's fault. We'll get to that. So Enzo Amore came out, and he cut a pretty decent promo. The crowd really didn't react to him, and I was kind of watching the crowd throughout the night. And there's a few other points in the night that I thought the crowd should have reacted a little bit better, but they didn't. Enzo cuts a good promo, and you could tell as the promo was going on that he could. It was obvious that he could tell the crowd was not reacting the way he wanted it to. Even when he did the soft line, it wasn't as loud as usual. So that's not a good sign for Enzo at all. I feel bad for the guy. But to make matters worse, this guy is kind of promoting Cass and talking about how, he's a G. Cass is not a G. Last week Cass ran away from the Big Show. If it was Enzo, he wouldn't run away. He would fight the guy. He would get his ass kicked, but he would fight. Well, then Cass came out, and what did Enzo do? He ran away. And not only did he ran away behind a barricade, told Cass he's got someone else to worry about, and basically hid in front of a little kid. So it made Enzo look like a fucking idiot. So writers who wrote that segment should be fired. That's not good. You're burying your talent. If that is the goal accomplished. If you're trying to make Enzo into something, utilizing his ability to talk, because the guy's he's great on the stick, his in-ring work, whatever. You know what? In-ring work is not everything. People will say otherwise on the internet, but it's not everything. If it was everything, Cesaro would be world champion. And I've used that example many times. I love Cesaro. Guy's a great wrestler. And maybe in time he'll find what he's missing. But he's missing something, right? And there's a lot of guys that are great wrestlers. But they're not a good talker, or they're not a good entertainer outside the ring. And that's a big part of it. So if the opposite could be true, then why can't the opposite of that be true? That's kind of confusing. So if a guy can get pushed up the card for being a good wrestler, but not have good promo ability, then the same should be said about a guy who has good promo ability, but not a good wrestler. Now, me personally, wrestling to me is the biggest. It's for a product that's specific to wrestling, like a Ring of Honor, like a New Japan Pro Wrestling. Wrestling is everything. The promo work, who cares? But on Raw and SmackDown, it's a little different. It's about entertainment. It's about having character, which it's not necessarily the guy's fault, because it's also the writer's fault. But at the same time, it's also part of the talent's fault too. And I firmly believe that wrestling ability is not enough to get you to the top in WWE. It's just not. It's whether it's the crowd, or whether it's the management, it's not enough. It's just not enough. It never has been. It never will be. You look at guys like Dean Malenko. Guy was a great wrestler. Had no personality when it came to outside the ring. Never made it as a top guy. Never made it as a mid-card guy. Really, he was a light heavyweight champion. I don't think he's ever been Intercontinental champion. I don't have the stats in front of me, and I don't really remember, but he was kind of nothing. He didn't have the entertainment aspect down. That's just the way it is. A guy like Val Venus was higher up the card, and nothing against him. He's not a bad wrestler, but he's not a good wrestler either, right? So that's just that's where I'm coming from here. So if you want Enzo to be a star or a bigger star, you can't do stuff like this. You can't say, I wouldn't run away, and then he just simply runs away. That's something a heel does. That's something you want the fans to boo does. That's not something Enzo should have done. He should have just taken his ass with him like a man. Simple as that. But then the Big Show came out and fought Cass. At first I was worried about this, because at first Big Show was beating the shit out of Cass. I'm like, wow. So not only did they make Enzo look like a fucking idiot, they're making Cass look like a piece of shit. What's the point in all this? But then Cass kind of got the one-upsman on Big Show and started winning their brawl there. Cass came out looking like a monster, and I think it will be Cass versus Big Show at SummerSlam. And it's something that I was talking about after when I was doing the Great Balls of Fire predictions and review. I talked about how I think next Cass should face the Big Show. It wrote itself. It made sense. You have him fight Big Show. You let Big Show give him the big rub at SummerSlam. And then from there, I don't know what you do with Cass. There's only so many spots for certain guys, and right now, the Intercontinental title picture is kind of flooded. You can keep feuding with Enzo for a little while. I don't know where you go from there, because there's not a whole lot of baby faces that he can really feud with. Maybe once, if Seth and Dean doesn't become a tag team and they actually go off and they do separate things, Maybe we can see Cass versus Dean. Maybe we can see Cass versus Seth. Cass versus Apollo Crews. I don't know. I just don't know where they're going from here. And then afterwards, we have Elias Sampson come out. Who wants to stand with Elias? I'm a huge fan. I'm becoming a huge fan of Elias Sampson here. The crowd kind of ate this stuff up. He was making fun of the town, of course. I mean, he made fun of country music, which was pretty funny. And immediately as he started talking, the crowd started chanting, "We want Balor." And Elias, without missing a beat, was like, "Yeah, I do too, and I'll get him here in a second. But for now, I need you guys to keep quiet." you know. And then, of course, Finn Balor came out and they had their match. The match ended in no contest. In fact, I think Finn won by disqualification because Elias Sampson hit him with the guitar, which I popped for. I thought that was great. We haven't seen something like that in a while. Obviously, Jeff Jarrett is infamous for doing that for the longest time. And this is the first time we've seen it in a while, and I liked it. He's going to go through a lot of guitars, which could be costly, but I think it's worth it. I think Elias is a talented guy. At first, I wasn't big on him. When he was in NXT, I thought he was kind of boring. I didn't like his gimmick. I didn't really like anything he had going for him. But this has been working. I'm getting behind the guy. I want to stand with Elias, And this match was pretty good, too. He's actually really good in the ring, too. I think this guy could be... I don't know about being world champion right now. It's a little early to say that, but I definitely see him being in the mix, at least in the mid-card. Guy's good. And then, after the match was over, Bray Wyatt popped on the Titantron. Cut a pretty decent promo. This is the first Bray Wyatt promo in a while that I actually really liked. He was talking about how Finn portrays himself as a demon, and that he talks about, he goes back to Irish mythology, but he's not a myth. He's a god, and was going on about that kind of thing, and made it clear that he feeds off weakness of people because he saw that Finn was in pain. He says, "I feed off that, and I want to be the one that gives you that pain." So I don't know what's going on with that either, because now Bray Wyatt gets away from Seth, back with Finn Balor, which would happen after the shakeup. It looked like it was going to be Finn versus Bray. And then they kind of just got rid of that. But he's still in a feud with Elias Sampson. So I don't know what's going on there. Is Elias going to pair up with Bray Wyatt? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's just interesting to see what happens next, though, between any of those guys. Then we have Sasha versus Bayley next week, the announcement for that. Tozawa versus Daivari during this match. And I thought this was a good match. I didn't like the finish, really. So the match itself was pretty good. During the match, Daivari was working on Tozawa's shoulder. And it was getting to the point where it looked like Tozawa was in a lot of pain. Tozawa was selling like crazy. I thought he did a great job selling. Daivari ended up winning the match because Titus basically threw in the towel for Tozawa. Said, I'm gonna end the match. Tozawa was very upset by this, and he was walking up the ramp as Titus is following him. And he's holding his shoulder. He says, "You don't care about me. You don't care about me." And I just didn't really like that. The finish itself, I thought was okay, but because it's going to continue their feud into tomorrow night, or tonight, I guess, for 205 Live. And I thought that was fine, but I just didn't like the fact of him yelling, "You don't care about me," and it just came off kind of silly, and I just didn't like it. I didn't really like it. They talked again backstage later in the night, and basically Titus was just telling him, I do care about you. I'm not thinking about tonight. I'm thinking about the Cruiserweight title. I'm thinking about next week. I'm thinking about next year. I want you to be healthy. I want you to be safe. And Tozawa says, "Well, I want Daivari tomorrow night." So tonight we're going to see Daivari versus Tozawa on 205 Live. And now this is where things get a little controversial for some people. I've seen a lot of mixed reactions to this, but more so in favor of people disliking this. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. So Kurt Angle came out and he announced that he got a phone call from the ex from his past. And then he said, "My family supports me. WWE supports me." So now I want to go ahead and introduce you to my son. He said that his ex gave birth nine months after he hooked up with her in college, or whatever the case might have been, and he found his son. So he reveals that it's Jason Jordan from American Alpha, which is funny because there's a lot of, for the longest time, not even. Before even Kurt Angle came back to WWE, there was a lot of joking around that, because there was an angle with Kurt Angle and Booker T where basically Kurt Angle cut this like promo where he wanted to have sex with Booker's wife, and he even went as far as said, "I have jungle fever" and stuff like that. So people jokingly said that Charmel, they put a picture of Charmel on the meme, a picture of Kurt Angle, and then it showed a picture of Jason Jordan at the bottom of it, and that's been floating around for a long time now. And people were joking about it over the past week because we knew something was coming up here. A lot of people thought it was going to be Dixie Carter. A lot of people thought it was going to be Stephanie McMahon. They thought it was going to be a love angle. They thought it was going to be something where Angle was cheating on his wife. Because you got to remember, Angle was talking about how this was going to destroy his career. This was going to besmirch his Olympic gold medal win. He basically said that his career was going to be over. Well, just for having a son that you didn't know about. I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird. They really built this up, and I think a lot of people were disappointed because it was just like, oh, well, you built this up to like this could be career ending for Kurt Angle, but how? I jokingly said maybe it's because of back child support. Maybe after he finds out that he owes 20. How old is Jason Jordan? Like 24, 25? He owes like 25 years of back child support. So maybe Kurt Angle's broke. So that's the end of his career. Maybe that's what he was talking about. But it didn't seem that extreme. Kurt Angle started crying in the ring. Jason Jordan came out basically to no crowd reaction, which I thought was interesting. I feel bad for the guy. I hope that this works because I like Jason Jordan. I think he has a ton of talent. Obviously, with Kurt Angle there to elevate you and to give you that rub is an incredible, incredible thing for somebody. I like it. I like it a lot, and I'll tell you why. So, some people didn't like this because, well, we know that he's not Jason Jordan. He's not really Kurt Angle's son. Kayfabe's dead, blah, blah, blah. But, the thing is, those same people will complain that kayfabe is dead and that they want to see more things, and that it's just weird. It's a weird thing. I think a lot of people. Here's the thing too. I firmly believe that there's no matter what they do, someone's going to complain because people didn't want to see Dixie Carter. People didn't want to see Stephanie McMahon, but then they were disappointed that neither of those things happened. So I don't really. It was a lose-lose situation, and at least in this case. If you brought Dixie Carter, what does that really do for anybody, right? If you bring Stephanie McMahon back, what does that really do for anybody, right? The only thing that could really lead to is maybe Angle versus Triple H at Mania, which would be a big match if Angle is clear to compete. But you're not really making any new star out of it. You're not really elevating anybody. At least in this case, it's making arguably a new star, right, in Jason Jordan. And I think that we could see a lot of different scenarios happen here. I could see Kurt Angle, Jason Jordan, Angle basically saying, I'm not going to play favorites just because you're my son. I want to give you opportunities, but you got to earn them and make him run the gambit. For months he's working up the ladder and then eventually gets an Intercontinental title match maybe at Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, wins the Intercontinental title. Maybe he wins it later on this year. I could really see Jason Jordan winning the Intercontinental title from The Miz. I think that could be something that we see in the near future. I don't see him being a Universal Champion or anything at the moment. He's still, obviously, this is very fresh. We don't even know what's going on. We could even see an angle where maybe Jason Jordan turns heel. Maybe this is all a setup. We find out that Jason Jordan somehow crafted this whole scheme because he wanted to be elevated. He wanted to get an opportunity and sold out Kurt Angle here. Maybe he betrays Kurt Angle in the future in favor of the Authority and becomes the new Authority's new puppet. There's a lot of things they could do. You gotta remember, he's an NXT guy, and Triple H does run NXT, so this still could lead to a Angle versus Triple H match. And in the process, you can make Jason Jordan be a star, maybe a nice mid-card guy, maybe a main eventer. I don't know. We'll see. They've always seen something in Jason Jordan. They've always seen something in Jason Jordan. They tried really hard to make him a singles guy in NXT. It didn't work out, so they paired him at different tag teams. And Chad Gable really brought the personality out of Jason Jordan. Chad Gable's great. I think Chad's going to be fine on his own. They've really put him over on SmackDown the last couple weeks. AJ Styles has really been putting him over, even on Twitter, saying that he had a great match with Chad Gable, a guy who hasn't been in the business that long. The guy just gets it. So I think both these guys can go on to be good single stars. So I really hope Jason Jordan does well here. We're going to see what happens next week. I'm the kind of person that's not going to say, oh, this sucks. It's a failure already. I want to give it a chance. It's been one day, and people are already saying, well, they've already messed up Jason Jordan before it even started. And people say that stuff all the time. Can we relax a minute? It's been one day. We haven't seen anything happen yet between these guys. Can we at least see what happens for at least a couple weeks? Can we at least wait things out? People, they talk about how they want slow burns and they want these slow builds, but then when we start actually getting to them, people don't want to see it. I want to see more feuds. But then when we get a feud that lasts for 5 months, oh, it's lasting way too long. I want to see something new. And then when you get something new, well, why don't we got any feuds? I want to see a new champion already. Well, how come no one's held the title for 500 days? It's just, people will complain about everything. I like to sit back. I like to relax. And I kind of give things chances. And we'll see what happens here. I'm excited to see what happens here. I liked it. I went ahead and put a thumbs up on it because I like Jason Jordan. I like the idea of pairing Jason Jordan with Kurt Angle. I want to see what happens out of this. There's a lot of different directions they can go into it. But I think ultimately this could really work out for Jason Jordan. I don't know if he's now going to be called Jason Angle. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, if he's going to keep being Jason Jordan. But I like it. I dig it. Oh, and one thing I failed to mention, one thing I really like the most out of it, and I didn't really mention this, and I kind of started it when I started talking about this, was the kayfabe sense. Now, when I grew up watching wrestling, I started in the Attitude Era, right? And during the Attitude Era, you had the Dudley Boys. They're brothers, even though they're not really brothers. Kane and the Undertaker brothers. They're not really brothers in real life. And we knew that. But we were fine with it. I never really heard people say, well, they're not really brothers. Well, this is fucking stupid. This is insulting my intelligence. No one said that shit back then. And the internet was around then. The internet was definitely around. I think we create these things in our mind as a community where it's like, this is not okay, that's not okay. But if you think about it, we were okay with it years ago. I don't get why it's such a big deal. It's a TV show. It's a TV show. Yeah, Jason Jordan and Kringle are not really father and son. But can we pretend? If the storyline is good, now we don't know if it is yet or not. It's too early to tell. It's been one day. But if it's good, why is that such a big deal, right? It's all scripted. It's a TV show, guys. I think we take it a little bit too seriously sometimes in wrestling, at least especially in WWE. It's not to be taken seriously. It's a TV show. It's entertainment. This isn't New Japan Pro Wrestling. New Japan Pro Wrestling, this would definitely not be happening. You're not going to see Kenny Omega all of a sudden be Toma Tonga's brother. It's not going to happen. But it's also a wrestling-based TV show. This is a TV show with wrestling involved. Look at Lucha Underground. In Lucha Underground, you can get away with that. You have a guy that's transformed into a dragon. And people don't say shit about that. It's unbelievable. Yeah, but it's because it's a TV show. This is a TV show. WWE is a TV show. It is not a wrestling show. And I love pro wrestling. I watched New Japan Pro. I'm a huge New Japan Pro Wrestling fan. Not a huge Ring of Honor fan. I like Ring of Honor, and I watch it from time to time. There's guys on there that I really enjoy, like Don Castle, big Don Castle fan. I was a big Adam Cole fan before he left. And I like Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is good, but those are all wrestling-based shows. These are TV shows. There is a difference. There happens to be wrestling. I think wrestling gets put on the back burner a little bit too much in WWE, and I think it should be a little bit more important than it is. I agree with that. But I'm fine with the storylines. I'm fine with ridiculous things happening. I mean, look at it this way. We know that Roman Reigns did not really crash an ambulance into a semi-truck with Braun Strowman actually in the ambulance. We know that. But that doesn't mean that it was fucking cool to see. It doesn't mean that when Braun Strowman came out of that ambulance and he got on his own feet and walked up a bloody mess, he looked like a badass. But we know it didn't happen. But he still looked like a badass. Kane and The Undertaker were pretend brothers for 20 years. Still are. They're still pretend brothers. Right? I mean, look at Paul Bearer. Paul Bearer was their father. Not in real life. But when he passed away, they put him in the Hall of Fame. We had that great moment where The Undertaker came out after Kane inducted him. And he did that ceremonial thing that The Undertaker does. And it was a emotional moment. But they're not really family. But it's okay. It's WWE. It's wrestling. I think people think too much into it sometimes, and I think that when people do that, they kind of ruin it for themselves. And I know people find that to be silly to say, and they'll say, "Fuck you, that's not true." But there's truth to that. There really is. Then we had the Hardy Boys versus the Revival, and I thought this was an okay match. Let's see. They started fighting the Revival before they even got to the ring. Revival ended up winning the match. It was a close match. There was some controversy to it. But this is going to set up a match. I think, I mentioned this last week, I think this is going to lead into a multi-man tag team title match. Because last week, the club, Anderson and Gallows beat the Hardy Boys. This week, the Revival beat them. And, in fact, last week, they went out there and beat the shit out of the Hardys. Cesaro and Sheamus are the champions. They need challenges for SummerSlam. I think we're going to see a fatal 4-way, maybe it's elimination style, maybe not elimination style, tag team title match. I think it could be really good to watch. Maybe the Revival will win. I don't know. They haven't won the tag team titles yet. They're the only team in that match that haven't been tag team champions yet. So we could see the Revival get their title run started. Would like to see that. I like the Revival a lot. Let's see. Then they announced Finn Balor versus Elias Sampson no DQ match next week. I really like what they did this week on Raw because something they haven't been doing for a long time. They started doing this more and more, and I think it's effective. It's announcing stuff for next week or building up stuff for next week. So you look forward to it and you know what's going on next week. We now know that there's going to be a Sasha versus Bayley match. The winner is the number one contender for the women's title at SummerSlam. That's happening next week. That's kind of a big deal. You have Elias Sampson versus Finn Balor in a no DQ match. That should be a pretty good match. And maybe Bray Wyatt's going to get involved. It is a no DQ match. And then we also have the 3-on-2 handicap match. We have Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins versus Miz and the Miztourage. So that's something to look forward to. But then we had the main event, which was Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe. And I thought that was an okay match. It was a lot of headlocks and chin hogs and working over Roman. And then Roman started to fire up a little bit. Started getting a lot of offense. And then, of course, as the match was taking place and maybe Roman was getting ready to win, we hear the infamous Braun! Boom, bum, 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 bum. And he beats the shit out of Samoa Joe and he beats the shit out of Roman Reigns. Leaves them both in the middle of the ring. And I was thinking this entire time, as this was going on, where the hell, where's security? Where's, the agents backstage? The last few times we've had brawls, they've been there immediately. It took them forever to get out there this time. They didn't even do anything. They got out there and they got scared of Braun and basically ran away. But Braun stood victorious in the middle of the ring as both these guys were laid out. Left the ring. He was also, his arm was bandaged up a little bit. Very good stuff. I enjoy Braun Strowman, one of my favorites right now for sure. And it's definitely looking like it's going to either be a triple threat, maybe a triple threat match next week to determine the number one contender, or we have a fatal 4-way match, yet another multi-man match at SummerSlam for the Universal title, which is something I wanted to see, something I predicted we could see at the Great Balls of Fire predictions, and of course on the review as well. I wanted to see Braun beat Roman, and then I wanted to see Brock lose to Joe, and it would just ultimately create this fatal 4-way. We can still do the fatal 4-way, and you can have Joe or Braun or anybody win the Universal title, and it'll be great. It's a good way to get Brock versus Roman at SummerSlam, but also be able to keep a match fresh between the two for a one-on-one match at Mania if that's still the plan that they want to do. So I'm fine with it. Absolutely. Let's see what these guys can do. I think this could be one hell of a brawl. This could be a messy match, but I want to see it. I want to see these guys just tear each other apart, and it should be a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm going to give Raw a thumbs up. If I had to rank it, I would give it a solid B. It was definitely above average. The only thing I really didn't like I said before, was the Enzo promo. I thought the promo and the delivery was fine, with the exception of him, first saying I'm a badass, I wouldn't run away from a fight, and then runs away from a fight and hides behind a little kid. Literally puts a kid in front of him while he's sitting down in a chair to watch the Big Show get beat up by Cass. Did not like that at all. Made Enzo look like a complete joke, and that's not a good way to elevate somebody. That's how you bury people. That's how you bury them. And then, of course, the Angle and Jason Jordan stuff was I don't want to say it's controversial. The segment itself wasn't really controversial, but I just want to say that it was a little polarizing because people are on different sides here. Either people liked it or people didn't like it. And I think the people didn't like it overshadowed those that did like it, and very vocal about it. They think it was stupid. They think they wanted to see more. But again, these are the same people. Literally, I've seen the same people say this. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, and I follow Twitter as well. They didn't want Dixie. They didn't want Stephanie. But this was underwhelming. It's weird. Like, what did they actually want? Did they want it to be him and Dixie Carter having a love affair? But they didn't want to see Dixie on television. Did they want it to be Stephanie and Angle having a love affair? But they didn't want to see Stephanie back on TV. I don't know what they were wanting. Were they wanting something super controversial? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they just wanted something that was controversial, as long as it didn't involve Stephanie and Dixie. But for what we know, this isn't over yet. Like, we don't know if this leads into something a little bit more controversial. Now, maybe we find out later on that Angle did this while he was dating his current wife, even though we know that's not true. I don't know, maybe we find a little bit more out of this. Maybe at some point, like I said, Jason Jordan could turn heel on Kurt Angle, and we find out this is all a ruse. He's not really Kurt Angle's son, and he did this just so he can get ahead. I think it creates a really tough environment for Kurt Angle. He's really upset about it. But then that would have to lead into a match between Jordan and Kurt Angle ultimately, or maybe Chad Gable versus Jordan at some point. One thing I didn't mention, and I'm curious about this, he announced Jason Jordan as the newest member of Raw. Did SmackDown not get somebody for him? Did they trade for Jason Jordan? How did that work? Are they going to ignore that completely? I thought about that. I was like, well, was this a trade? Can they at least mention this on SmackDown tonight? I hope they do. Maybe we got somebody from Raw. I don't know. Who would they have gotten as a trade? Maybe Kurt Hawkins? I don't know. It had to have been somebody that we didn't see on Raw last night. I'm trying to think. Goldust and R-Truth were not on the show. Maybe SmackDown got the Golden Truth. Hope not. I don't know who else there would really be to trade for him. I'm trying to think of the Raw roster off the top of my head. I don't know. Anyways, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought of Raw. What do you guys think of the reveal of Jason Jordan being Kurt Angle's son? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Are you in the middle? Are you like me? You want to sit back and see what happens next? Like I said, I like Jason Jordan. I want to see him succeed. He's a great wrestler. He's entertaining, and I think that he could be, he could be a major star. He could be if booked properly, and this guy keeps his fire, and he keeps progressively trying to get better, and he gets hungrier and hungrier. He could be a top star. He could be in the mix. Like I said before, in NXT, they really seen something in this guy. You could just tell they wanted this guy to be somebody. Triple H is obviously very much behind Jason Jordan, and so much that they're willing to give this big give him this big rub from Kurt Angle. This is a major deal for him, and I hope it works out for him. What did you guys think of the Enzo and Cass segment? Do you agree with me? Did you think it made Enzo look like an idiot? And let me know. Let me know about the main event. Do you want to see a fatal 4-way for the title? Do you want to see a triple threat? Do you want to see just a one-on-one match? If so, who do you want to see in those matches and why? But anyways, guys, until next time, I am the Maverick Mark Daniels, bidding you farewell, peace, and one love.